Greetings from the clans of Lost Phoenix and your host Galadon. Today's episode of Clash of Clans Attacks is basically three-pronged. It is episode 44, it is the third installment in the Clash of Clans Fails series, and more importantly, this episode will focus on how to lure and defeat heroes, a complete walkthrough. Today we will break down the process and we will show you what to do and some examples of what not to do when trying to get those heroes out of the way. And right away we will take a look at step 1, patiently perceive parading parties, better known as watch where they're walking and wait for the right moment. If you look closely as we watch the Queen's behavior here, she's never going to wander more than about 2 tiles away from her home pad. But in the span of about 20 seconds, she will do a 360-degree path all the way around it. So there's no need to rush your attack, just simply wait it out until she gets to the spot where it's easiest to activate her.
Pause it.
And here I might add step 1A, and that is to correctly select the luring troop that you're going to use to activate the king or the queen. Those hog riders work well for kings and queens that are embedded deeply in bases. They get all the way over the walls into that outermost defensive structure. But watch out for external mortars like you see here, because they will head for that instead. Wall breakers are often effective for heroes that aren't quite as deeply embedded in a village because they will go past those outer structures to the wall. And here, for instance, a barbarian might work well because it's going to go up to the outermost structure, and with this queen pacing relatively close to the edge of the village, a barbarian might be enough to wake her up. And speaking of waking them up, that brings us to step number 2, which is regard red reaction radiance. In other words, look for the little red exclamation point. That's going to be your indicator that you have successfully alerted the king and or the queen. And that is going to bring us to our first of a series of fails that we will be looking at here. We have kindly, this time for real, blurred out the names of these attackers out of courtesy and respect. And right away we can see that this attacker wisely used a cheap barbarian to activate the queen over there because there was a gap in the base. And now he's going to patiently watch the king pace, and he's going to use a hog rider to activate the king from the opposite side there, also very effectively. But shortly we will see that this attacker is a little bit confused and undecided as to where he wants to take the king and the queen. You'll notice that there is a mortar on 3 of the corners and a wizard tower on the 4th, all doing splash damage, which can be disastrous to a group of units designed to take out the king and the queen. Also, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but he did activate the clan castle, and he's got a golem to complicate things. And as he settles on a spot here, we come to tip number 3, meticulously map monarch murder. Or in other words, choose the location where you take out the royals carefully. Now I imagine he had intended to avoid the damage from that mortar, but instead he ends up in a spot where he's got a mortar, 2 cannons, and an archer tower all raining down hellfire and abomination on his attacking troops. And just about as fast as they can be generated, those skeletons are being taken out by those mortar balls, and eventually he realizes that he's fighting a losing battle here. He drops his queen down, but by then it's too late. His troops have been taken out, and this attack is doomed. And there goes the queen, just strutting away from the battle like, oh yeah, that just happened.
You're such a fairy, Galadon.
Knock it off, Peter. And we'll fast forward through the rest of this attack and get on to the next defense here, this one by Sivo of Lost Phoenix. This attack highlighting the importance of step 4, precisely proliferate plentiful pain. Or in other words, use the correct number and type of troops for the situation. Here our ill-fated attacker has drawn out a clan castle that has a dragon in it, and he's going to go ahead and deploy barbarians and witches. And the problem there is there's not a whole lot of damage going on to take that dragon out, which is with a very weak ground-to-air attack. And besides the fact that this was probably a poor choice on the map to try to do this, there's a lot of wide open area to the right there. Also, I'm thinking probably 4 wizards at the beginning of that lure, right when they got over there, that would have taken that dragon out pretty quickly. And you have to give Sibo's opponent here an A for effort. He does go forth with the rest of his attack, but he's going to be quickly overpowered by the defending king, queen, and clan castle troops, and has pretty much no chance at a single star. Okay, moving forward onto another successful defense by a Lost Phoenix member. Here we are going to look at an unusual base, but it does have a large area at the top that this attacker has chosen to lure the king and the queen and the clan castle troops to, which was a good idea. And we'll skip ahead a little bit here. We'll take a look at the northernmost part of the base. He has very wisely deployed a couple of lone hog riders to take out those archer towers, giving him an open area to confront the king, queen, and clan castle troops. But that will bring us to step 5, which is prioritize proper procession placement, or drop your troops in line in the correct order. Now you'll notice the very dangerous Valkyries there, who also do area of effect damage, and they're going to wipe out those barbarians before the attacker has had a chance to deploy witches, and those witches then didn't have a chance to deploy skeletons before the Valkyries had closed in on them. Now, if our attacker had lined up his troops a little bit better and dropped those witches up in the very, very top corner, given them a chance to develop some of those skeleton crowds, then they might have been able to overcome these archers and Valkyries and, of course, the king and the queen. And as you can see by the battle timer there, this attacker pretty much just gave up at this point, saved his king and queen for another day. And now we look at another successful defense, this one by D. Reverend of Lost Phoenix. And this attack did end up being a fail. The attacker did try to pull some on-the-fly maneuvers to save it here as he was trying to take out this difficult clan castle, but it wasn't quite enough. I apologize for the choppy screen here, but Peter $17 was trying to pull the router out of the wall after losing another attack.
It's you that sucks,
Anyway,
Galadon,
we'll get
not
out
me.
here to the corner and we'll see a few problems here. The witches have had a chance to generate skeletons. We've got a mortar firing. We've got a cannon firing. And the attacker realizes that he's in trouble, so he deploys a few extra wizards, and eventually he throws a golem down, which is kind of effective in turning around the dragon and the witch and the archers there, and eventually they get taken out. But by the time the clan castle troops and the king and the queen are down, you'll see that he's deployed far too many troops. He doesn't have any backing up his golems there, and a lonely golem is an ineffective golem, and this attack is again doomed. And as we freeze the frame here, you'll see that he drops a freeze and a rage, and when he puts the king and the queen down, you'll see that the surrounding structures there are still up. The king is targeting that one to the left. There's no way they're going to the center, and pretty much no way for even 1 star. And we'll fast forward through the rest of this attack, and the next one coming up will actually be an effective method of taking out an outside mortar that could otherwise pose problems for the royal lure. Now you can't really see it off screen, but to the right there, the attacker activated the queen and then very quickly dropped those hog riders to take out the mortar simultaneously. He effortlessly times the travel time of the queen across the map, and then he picks up the king with 1 barbarian, moves them all off to the left here. Who is this attacker? This is poetry in motion. Let's uncover the name. Oh, that explains it. It's Galadon attacking Scribble Scribble from the Squiggle Scribble clan. But to be honest, this attack is far from flawless. If you take a look, the king is just about to wipe out one of the witches. Because of the way they were deployed, he went after the witch first before he went after those skeletons. Could have been a little bit better, but it does end up wiping out the king and the queen almost at the same time, clearing the way for the rest of the attack. But no episode is complete without a couple of fails from yours truly. So we're going to actually look at a replay of a war attack here from the last war against Crucible Wrath. And this would be me attacking Jay. Now here the royal lure and kill will go down without a hitch. I already picked up the queen on the far right, got rid of that mortar, picked up the king. Now I'm going to deploy my units out here way out away from everything else. Now when the queen does arrive, I lay down my barbarians, and then very carefully I'll put my witches and my clan castle witches in behind them, and so they're protected by those first troops, and the witches have plenty of time to generate a huge crowd of skeletons, which the queen just cannot keep up with. The king goes down shortly thereafter, the queen is swarmed, and she will go down in a flash. But unfortunately, from here on out, the attack gets a little bit less pretty. I put down a golem on the right, a golem on the left, but my first wall breakers on the right there get wiped out and they never make it to the wall, and I apparently didn't pay attention to that. I went ahead and didn't send any more in, so the right golem, it will go ahead and bunch up with the left golem, and as the clan castle troops come out, I'll wait for them to bunch up, and I'm going to drop a lightning spell, but if you look closely, I miss one witch who's bunkered behind that wall and is going to start generating skeletons like crazy. So at this point, I do lose my patience a little bit, drop the rest of my wall breakers, and rage them. They do get pretty close to that town hall enclosure. King and the Queen moving in before the surrounding structures are cleared. We do manage to get pretty close to that town hall, but there's just too much damage going on right there, and pretty much all of my supporting units are going to be wiped out. When the smoke clears, the town hall goes down, but just about all that's left is the King and the Queen, and we're only at 35% damage. So that moment of excitement watching a town hall go down in flames is short-lived, as I realize that 50% is far away. A lot of defensive structures here, and the Queen, although powerful and she's enraged here, is not quite going to get to 50%, and it's going to be painfully close. So you see the result here, 47% and 1 star for the clan war. So let's just go ahead and take a moment to review the effective luring and taking out of the King and the Queen with this quick to-do list. If you follow these instructions, I almost guarantee an effective clearing of the King and the Queen, which makes the rest of your attack much, much easier. And here they come. Watch where they pace, lure with the right troops, prepare for the clan castle, look for confirmation they're coming, pick a safe spot to take them out, drop the right type and number of kill troops, drop your troops in line away from danger, and wait for those heroes to go down before you start your main attack. As with any technique, practice makes perfect. It may take a few attempts before it goes smoothly, but the more times you try, the more effective you're going to get. Now before I go, I just wanted to review a little bit of the conclusion of our last clan war against Crucible Wrath. It was a well-fought war. It started out very close. In fact, we were sweating it over here in Lost Phoenix, but we did manage to pull out some key victories and pulled ahead in the star count in the end. And Lost Phoenix is now 6-3, going into the beginning of our next clan war late tonight against Arabian Hunters. And this last visiting day, I did have a chance to visit all of Lost Phoenix's feeder clans. Definitely some great people. Please do go check them out. Also, a quick shout out to Hidden Sanctuary. Had a chance to visit their clan. Very good group of people there as well. If you'd like me to stop by and donate some troops and say hi to your clan, just leave your name and your clan's name in the comments, and I will come by on next Reset Sunday.
The opinions expressed in this episode are not necessarily those of the clan Lost Phoenix. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary. Not valid in Arkansas, Alaska, or Spencer's Bathroom.